welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel Ann
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel Ann and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that?
Hey!
Hey!
All right, guys, welcome to another episode. This is a special one. Today we're doing, hold on to your hats, horror stories.
Dun, dun, dun.
Can we add like a spooky sound effect, wind blowing?
Ooh, we should. Yes. Ghosts howling.
Right? So it is almost Halloween, but by the time this comes out, Halloween will be past, I'm sure.
It'll probably be Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so this can be scary Thanksgiving stories.
There you go. Perfect.
So not only scary, but we want to talk about horror stories. They can be scary, or they may be scary, they may be creepy, but they also may just be like worst day ever when you're out doing your, real estate stuff and whatnot. So we're going to do a couple, and then Rachel, tell them what you went out and did.
So today I put a post. So Neal and I sometimes have the topic picked out for what we're going to record about. We record every Friday, and sometimes we just think of it at 3 p.m. and we record at 5 and just we're like, let's do this. We whip out a little outline. Most of this stuff that we're talking about is stuff that we know like the back of our hand. So it's not hard to just chat about these things. So anyways, today we didn't really have a topic yet. We had a couple ideas, but I put out a poll on our Instagram story asking what we should record about tonight. And Anthony Trabano from Holland, he's actually California native and he's based in Holland. He
Awesome.
is an interior design and real estate photographer. He suggested that we do this episode on horror stories, which actually, Neal, this is on our list of ideas for podcast. So yeah, it was one that we've wanted to do. If you don't follow Anthony, it's Anthony Trabano. You should definitely check him out on Instagram. His work is incredible. I just checked out his website and it's beautiful. Awesome. So his real estate work is really cool because it's real estate, but he also adds he just has really good composition and he adds a little bit of that design flair to his work. So it's very polished and clean and beautiful. So check him out. So I went out after he suggested that. I thought, how fun would it be to gather horror stories from real estate photographers around the country? So I've reached out to I think 7 real estate photographers that follow us on Shooting the Shit and a couple that follow me on Focused Media Collective, and just asked them if they could record themselves telling us their horror story from a real estate job that they've done. And this could be like a really nasty house, like a crazy homeowner, or a pet story, or like breaking something, like anything you can think of that was just kind of a disaster or scary. So Neal, do you want to tell us your horror story?
Oh, okay. So let's see. So I had worked with these clients before. Great client, and they are builders, contractors, construction. And they do this beautiful architectural work. It's really awesome stuff. And they would submit a video I would make for them for these awards. And so we had done one before in the previous year, and they won the award for what they had done. And part of the submission is this video they submitted that we created, and we try to be cool and artsy and whatever. So this year we were doing it, and I show up, and there's 4 people that are going to talk about the project and the architecture, and I'm filming them doing video of it. Okay, so I've got mics set up, I've got my camera, I've got my light set up, and we're in their room. They've cleaned it all out for us to do this shoot and everything, and they're all there, and people drove up from different places to be there to film this thing. No pressure. So we're recording, and we're recording the audio, recording the video and all this stuff, and we're talking, and I said, okay, well, let's take a break because my battery's about to die and I just want to swap out batteries, right? And we're just getting started. We'd only got a small chunk into what they're going to talk about, right? Because they're talking about a bunch of different stuff. So I go to my bag and I grab my camera. I have a special bag that holds all of my batteries, and so I take another Sony battery and I put it in the camera, and that battery is dead. Okay, well that's weird. Did I not charge? And then the fear starts to set in, right? Did I not charge my batteries?
No.
Okay, let's try another battery. Grab that battery, put it in the camera. The battery is dead as a doornail. Nothing. And I'm just panicking. They're like, they're patiently waiting at this point, but I'm just in my head going, oh my God.
Oh my God.
These batteries are dead. I have no batteries, and I'm 45 minutes from my home where I have more batteries that I'm like, oh my gosh. And I charge 2 batteries, but they're still sitting on my charging table, right? So I got no batteries. So I'm like, oh, I have no choice but to tell them there's something wrong with the equipment, and I can't remember now if I just told them, you know what, my batteries are dead and I just got to go remedy this situation. I can't remember if I just kind of, walked around it a little bit and said, something's not right with the equipment and I got to go get another camera. I can't remember what, but it was pretty embarrassing to admit my batteries were not charged. Oh my gosh, I'll never be that unorganized again ever again in my life. Now I have little compartments for my batteries, and I know when they're charged and when they aren't charged, and I check them all before I leave the house. Don't ever do this, right? So I have this genius thought. Okay, well, I know there's the Best Buy near here. It's not too far. I'm just going to go buy 2 more Sony batteries. I know they're $80 a pop, and I already have 4 friggin' batteries, but I'm going to go get 2 more. So I go there, and people who know Sony are already going, oh no. So I drive to Best Buy and I buy 2 new batteries. I tear open the packages. I put them in the camera. I brought the camera with me to Best Buy, put them in the camera, turn it on, dead as a doornail. And in the back of my mind, I had this fear because I thought I remembered it was true. And it was unfortunately true that they do not ship charged, right? So that'll be another hour to charge your battery. So that's not going to work. So I have to have my wife drive and meet me halfway. I'm driving down the freeway like a lunatic.
Gosh.
She's meeting me halfway to deliver the batteries that luckily were on the charging bay that she could give me those batteries. Meanwhile, there's a guy who has to get going in very soon. He only had a short period of time he could be there, and they're all waiting on me, and I've just got this in the pit of my stomach that this is the most embarrassing. They liked my work before, and they're never gonna work with me ever again. This is the end. So embarrassing. This guy doesn't even know to bring batteries for his camera.
Right? That's so
horrible. The worst day ever. I was so embarrassed. I was mortified. And then to have to go back and put it back, put the camera back. Okay, now we're ready to go. I don't know how much time it elapsed, but it was not good. It was so embarrassing. Yeah. I think I might have had to fess up and just said, I don't know what happened, because I just remember being mortified.
I grabbed the wrong bag. I grabbed the uncharged batteries, not the charged batteries. Who knows?
I might have said something like that to soften it a little bit, but yeah. And I think I actually did have a bunch of Nikon batteries, but I had switched, and so the bag felt like, oh, there's a bunch of batteries in here. So I think or it was either that or they were uncharged. I can't remember now, but either way, the bag had either dead or Nikon batteries, and it was terrible. It was so embarrassing. So the rule here, the learning thing here is memory cards and batteries. I'm always doing I've got a camera, I've got a lens, I've got a backup camera, I've got a backup lens, I've got batteries that are charged, because now I put them in a way when they're charged and another way when they're not charged.
Oh, there you go.
And they're all organized in little compartments, so I don't mess around with that anymore.
Good job. Good job. The same thing happened to me just about a month ago. I was out in West Seattle, which is a solid 45 minutes from my house, if not more. And I had half of a battery to do stills and a video. And I was like, there's no way I can do this. So I had to have my assistant run out and drive me. She lived 30 minutes from my house, and then it was 45 minutes from my house out to the house. So I ended up getting through most of the photos on half a battery. And then I had one of my other shooters, because I ended up having to wait 40 minutes for her to get there. And so I had one of my shooters do the video, because I was like, I don't have time now because I got to get the kids from school. So it was it worked out, but just one of those.
Oh yeah. And I've had my cameras do the same thing where I've accidentally hit the on switch when I put them into my case. And you get there and they've drained the battery the whole time doing whatever they're doing in the case. And so I always have backup batteries. People who show up with one battery, I just know you don't want to do that, because one day that's going to happen and you're going to be 45 minutes from your house and have that feeling in your stomach.
Oh my God, no.
Oh no.
Literally can't do your job without a battery or a
Yeah.
tripod. Tripod's worse too. I forgot my tripod. That's embarrassing.
Oh yeah, I did that once, and I forgot my gimbal one time. The gimbal one, I did it without the gimbal. I think I used the tripod instead of a gimbal and just used the weight of the tripod. But yeah, that was terrifying too when you're like, oh, my gimbal.
I know. Now I just whip my phone out and do the video on my phone.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I have a little, what are those, Osmo 5 in my bag that I carry with me all the time now.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right, Rachel, I am ready for your story.
Okay. So my horror story takes place about an hour from my home. I was working for a new agent who I had talked on the phone with, and he was very nice. And I get out to the shoot and meet him in the driveway. And I just like, when you just kind of get like a weird, creepy vibe off of someone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I got off of this guy, right? But he was nice. He was like nice, but he just gave, I don't know, something was off. So we go in the house. I'm like, okay, I'll just shoot this quick and get out of here, whatever. And at the end of the shoot, he's like, oh, don't forget the basement. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I said, oh, great, a creepy basement. And I'm like, ha ha ha, like.
This is the part where I die.
I'm just going to say it as it is because I don't like creepy basements. So as I'm walking down the stairs, I like jokingly say, don't lock me down here. And I get downstairs and I look around and there's like tiny little windows that like if I needed to get out, there's no way I could get through them. Mm-hmm. I looked on my cell phone. I had no service. I'm like, great. So I have no service and there's a door, like a legit door. He could literally just close the door and keep me as his pet and God. Nobody would know.
And did you start to hear like and the light sort of, a shaft of light got smaller and smaller?
I really think I would have ran upstairs if that was the case. I'd be like pounding on the door. Anyway, so I shot the basement as quick as I could. I came out, everything was fine. He didn't lock me in the basement. But when I finally got service again, I called my husband and told him, and he was like, that's it. You're buying a gun. You're going to carry a gun in your camera bag at all times. And I was like, fine, you're right. I need one. Because you never know. There's freaking crazy people out there. And I have heard agents tell me some creepy stories when they were showing houses with couples. With some really bad ones. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
So
no,
always
totally.
be careful. Arm yourself. Even if you have mace with you, something. A rape whistle. I have a rape whistle in my keys. I always have my keys in my pocket. My gun's in my bag, which doesn't do us a lot of good if I'm in a basement and my bag's upstairs in the closet.
Right.
But, at least I know I have it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are scenarios, right, where at least, I think about that too, getting stranded somewhere that's just, oh man, oh my gosh, it just went real quick. Just that reminds me of this time. I was out in some town that it was just good old boy town, right? And my dad was with me. He was helping me on Matterport that day. And we pull in and park, and there's this good old boy there, and he's just eyeballing us. As soon as we pulled in, we're talking in the car for a couple seconds. And all I can think he just instantly recognized us as, they ain't from here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I literally just eyeballed me the whole time. And I'm like, what is this guy just going to like shoot me for some reason? He just decided this is the guy I'm going to have a problem with today. Yeah. And I'm just like going in to get, I think I was going to use the bathroom or something like that. And I walk out, he's still there. He's eyeballing my dad in the car. And I go around and hop in the car. He eyeballed me the whole way, just even driving out. And I'm just waiting. Is this the beginning of that movie where this car is just going to follow me down the road? Yeah. You know what I mean? But luckily it stopped there. But I'm just like, creepiest vibe ever. And like, what did I literally just pulled in, parked, talked to my dad for a minute and used the restroom. Oh, but you could tell it was like, weird. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, without saying a word.
Yeah. I had a weird encounter with a woman yesterday. So I was parked in front of this little shopping center, and behind the shopping center is a Starbucks. So you can like drive through the parking lot, and then you drive around the building and you come back into the parking lot to get out to the main road. Yep. So I'm parked in the parking lot, and next to my car was another car. And there was this lady standing like by the driver's side of the car next to me on the left. And she's just standing there staring at me. Like I walked out of my appointment and walked to my car, and she's like watching me walk and smiling, like awkwardly smiling. And I like kind of look at her and smile. I get in my car and I back out, and I had to like wait for someone. Like it was kind of a fiasco to get my car where I needed, because I wanted to go to the drive-thru and get Starbucks, not leave. So I had to wait for a car. And anyways, she's still staring at me. And then as I'm driving into the drive-through, I kind of look over because I'm like, that's so like, I was wondering, is she trying to break into that car? Like, what is she doing? She's being really suspicious. And so as I'm driving into the car or the drive-through, I turn and look to the left and she's still there and she's just staring at me with this big grin on her face. And I'm like,
what the
like,
heck?
I get my coffee and I pull around the other side, which takes me back to this parking lot. She had walked all the way over to the other side of the parking lot where I was going to come out. And she was standing there staring at me, watching me leave with this creepy smile on her face. I'm like, oh, okay. And I just left and I was like, that was weird. I don't know who.
I like your hair. It's going to make a nice wig.
That's what it felt like, dude. I was like, she is creepy. And she wasn't homeless. Like she looked, I don't know. She looked pretty normal to me, but she was weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yes. People are weird.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe she thought I was someone else. I don't know.
Who knows, right? But yeah, I hate that stuff. It gets in my head and I'm just like, I'll be running it like, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, but I didn't do anything weird. Did I do something weird? How could I have offended her? I don't think I offended her. Like, you know, I do that in my head. My brain will not let go of stuff like that. It's not good.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
I had another thing happen yesterday. Yesterday was an eventful day. I'm just going to tell, these aren't really horror stories, but they're a little creepy and weird. So yesterday was my day for weird. So I had a shoot at a condo and I parked. There was like a neighborhood with street parking. And I couldn't find parking. And then I found one spot, but it was really close to this guy's driveway. Like I was blocking the driveway maybe by like 4 inches, but it was a double wide driveway. Like they already had 2 cars parked up by the garage. And then there was like space for 4 more cars behind those. So there was plenty of room for someone to park in there, right? So I get out of my car and the son came out and he was like, hey, you're blocking our driveway. You can't park there. And I was like, it's like 4 inches. I'm going to be like 30 minutes. Are you sure? Like, is it okay? He's like, can't block the driveway. You have to move your car. And I'm like, whatever. So I just kind of ignored him. And then the mom came out. The mom was pissed. She's like, move your car right now. My husband can't get in. You're blocking the driveway. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like yelling at me. Like now my adrenaline's going. I'm like, I got my gun. And she's like, I'm going to call the cops. If my husband can't get in here, I'm calling the cops. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, then call the cops. I'm like, geez, at this point, I'm a little sassy. I'm like, lady, I'm not blocking your driveway.
You literally said call the cops?
I was like, then call the cops. Yeah. So I go do my shoot and I did a reel for my client, which was an extra like add-on thing. And which took an extra, I don't know, 10 minutes to do. And when I got back to my car, the cop was there marking my tires with chalk. And I'm like, oh, that freaking lady called the damn cops. Wow. I'm not even blocking the driveway. Her husband's car was parked in the driveway with no problem. Like there was no reason to call the cops. It's like so irrational. So anyways, I get to the car and I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like talking to the police officer and she's like, oh, I cited you. I was like, for what? And she goes, you can't park within 5 feet of a driveway. And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously? I had no idea. I'm like, I seriously didn't know. Is there any way you can reverse the ticket this time? And she was like, nope, once it's written, I can't take it back. I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, but if you go to court, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go to court for a $40 parking ticket. Go on. Oh, so that's my horror story from yesterday.
Wow. That is kind of crazy. Wow. They won.
Oh, she was yelling at me. I was like, lady, there's plenty of room. I'm like, come walk outside and look. There's plenty of room for him to get in.
Wow.
So
it didn't matter, you know.
No. Yeah. And then I asked the cop, I'm like, okay, so if I can't park there, what about that car that's parked right there in front of her house? Are you gonna like cite them? She goes, well, I'm gonna look them up and see if they live here. I'm like, so if it's not that address, let's say they have a friend over and it's not the address, you're gonna cite her for parking. Come on.
Interesting. It only matters if you don't live there, really.
I guess it's
pretty sure that's not how laws go, buddy.
I know. So anyways, I got a ticket yesterday.
That's ridiculous. I do kind of like that you get you're like mama bear, like what? Oh my gosh.
But call the cops then.
Call them.
Shove it.
Anyway. It's not mama bear. I don't know. I said mama bear. That makes no sense.
It doesn't. Because mama bear wouldn't be cussing at people. No, I wasn't cussing at her, but I was inside a little bit.
You just know that I'm a parent because I think about when my wife gets mad, it's usually a mama bear scenario where she's like defending the kiddo or something. And it's like, whoa. Back away.
Back away. That's funny. Okay, Neal, one more story from you, and then I have one more little one, and then we will let everybody else tell their stories because I think we're gonna have some great ones.
All right, awesome. So this one, I just thought of this. I thought we had already talked about it, but I guess maybe we haven't. So I'm just gonna do this, my scary story. So a lot of times we end up shooting houses solo, nobody's there, no agent, nothing. And that was the scenario in this house. So, and normally I'm not fazed by that. I kind of like being in the house shooting. It's not a problem, whatever. So it's just a totally normal house, not creepy, nothing. I walk in the door, I'm doing my photos, and I'm on the main floor, and I'm in the back bedroom, farthest from the entry, and there's no exit near me there. I'm in the bedroom, and all of a sudden, and it's totally like a vacant house. Nobody's there, right? I just hear a smash in the basement, and hairs on the back of my neck straight up. I'm like, and it just like kind of stopping, like you're in your head, like, okay, what do I do now? Right? What do I do?
Yeah.
And so I just do like a hello. That's what you came up with, Neal.
Yeah.
Good one. Right? But it's so straight out of a horror
In the
film.
deepest voice you could find.
Hello, everybody.
I'm upstairs.
I don't know if you heard how big I am.
Like you're walking heavy now, like
Doom, doom, doom. I don't think you want to mess with me.
but I literally, yeah, that's
Did
pretty
you
much
stomp
what I did.
around too, so they know you're
Pretty
there?
much.
Oh my
I
gosh.
walked, so
You
I knew it
did.
came from the basement, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go down the basement to photograph the utilities.
Oh boy.
And so I'm like, I gotta go in the basement. Plus, I just want to know, is there somebody down there or whatever? So that's kind of literally what I did. I opened the door, and I'm just like,
Hello? Is there anybody down there? Like,
Oh
it
my
was-
gosh.
I'm sure it was not convincingly tough, especially after like froze for 10 seconds after the first
Right?
noise, like
You're like, oh.
like a little mouse.
Yeah.
And maybe I let out a little but anyway, so I'm totally terrified because this was not a mistakable noise. Someone intentionally smashed, knocked over something in the basement, or maybe they were hiding there, is what's going in my head, and accidentally knocked something over because when I showed up, they didn't expect somebody and they ran down the basement and were hiding, or who knows. I'm thinking, coming down the stairs, like, someone's going to jump out at me right now. This is the part in the movie where the idiot, why don't go in the basement? You heard the crash. Nobody else is there to help you. What are you doing, you idiot? Hello? That's my defense. Yeah, good job. So I walk down the stairs, and I'm looking, and I'm like going around the corner. I'm like, hello? Anyone down here? And what I see on the ground is smashed glass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so somebody smashed something down there. So I'm terrified at that second. Somebody's down here. They smashed this glass on the floor just now.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, there's nobody down there. And I had
Sure.
turned on the light. I could see everything.
Yeah.
Then I realized they had one of those work lights, the long tube lights.
Mm,
And it's one of those ones that's hanging on a chain.
mm.
And apparently I do have a larger presence than I realized because my walking had shook it back and forth a little bit, enough that it
Seriously?
had fallen out. Just the big tube fell
Oh my
out and
gosh.
smashed on the ground. I mean, that, or there really was someone hiding down there and they were
They
trying to kill
bumped
me.
it with their head.
Or they bumped it with their
100%.
head, hiding from me. I
That was
don't know.
it.
But yeah, so anticlimactic, but no one was there to kill me. It was just a light that, isn't that weird though? The light tube just fell while I was
Yeah.
there, smashed to bits. And they're really loud when those, have you ever smashed one of those that kind of pop?
Oh, I bet.
I
I have never done that, but that would be fun.
But that was my horror story. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Neal, I have never died on the job.
You only get to do it once. Rach.
You do. You got to make it count. Okay. So my last story, I have so many. We need to do like another episode of this because this could be.
Well,
a long
we
episode.
could do a bunch of these if enough people send in their stuff. We can.
Yeah.
We can
record a
definitely do bunch.
couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send if you got a horror story. Send us a
it in.
sound bite. Let's hear it.
Make sure you say your first and last name, where you're from, your business name, and your Instagram handle before you record your horror story. That way everybody knows who you are. They can check you out, follow you.
Give you a shout out.
Yeah, give you a boost. Okay, so I was shooting this house. This was like probably a year and a half or 2 years into my business. So relatively new, not 100% financially stable. And I'm shooting this house that was a couple $1 million, but the location is what made it worth so much. But they were world travelers and they collected things around the world for decorations in their house. Like they had a whole entire room with pinball machines. and like video game, like a game room. They probably had like 20 games in that room, like what arcade games. There we go. Like, what are they called? Anyway, so you walk in the room, like you turn the lights on and all the sounds start revving up from all the games. It's like, it's like a carnival or something.
I was going to say, it's like every
Yeah.
scary clown movie with the carnival sounds turn on.
Yeah, so that's in the basement. And then around the whole house is like artifacts from all over the world, like big masks. They had like a whole wall of masks from Africa. I mean, it was cool. It was like a museum. The things they had, I was just like, wow, look at that. Look at that. Like it was cool, but you just feel like something's weird in there. Like, you know, all that stuff has some kind of spirits or something. I don't know what you believe in, but there was something attached to all that stuff in there.
It's
So
cool
then-
until you turn around and you swear that something had moved.
So that mask just looked at me. Yeah. So they had a whole room in the basement filled with Louis Vuitton trunks, like up to the ceiling. You know how much a Louis Vuitton trunk is?
I don't even know what a Louis Vuitton trunk is.
So like, you know, like a travel trunk that they used to use back in like the early 1900s,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a big trunk that they would carry, or like a big trunk for storage. They're huge, right? They're like the size of your desk, and they lift
they
up,
sell
the
those.
top
Okay.
opens. Yeah, like a treasure chest, but it's Louis Vuitton, and Louis Vuitton's very expensive. He had a whole, I mean, probably at least $200,000 worth of Louis Vuitton trunks in this room. They were floor to ceiling. The whole room was filled with them. Crazy cool. So just to kind of paint you like a visual picture, right? So me and the agent are walking through the house, and we're prepping
Is
it.
the next room a like torture device room? That's
No, I was really happy to not find that red room, because that would be awkward. I actually have never seen one of those. Have you?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody has a horror story of that, because I would like to hear that story.
We gotta get that
A
story.
little 50 Shades of Grey going on.
Yeah,
here.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'll come back to this room last.
Right. Be like, oh gosh. So anyways, so the agent and I are walking around the house, like prepping it. And he's like, obviously there's a lot of stuff everywhere, so just do your best. I'm like, okay. So we're opening the blinds. Well, there's this one set of blinds that I couldn't open. So I'm like pulling with all my might, and I'm not pulling straight down. I'm kind of pulling towards me, because I had to lean over a couch to get to the blinds, right? So I'm pulling. Well, I'm so strong that I pulled the blinds off the wall, and they landed on the couch and hit the vintage Gucci lamp that was on the coffee table, or the little end table next to the couch, and broke the shade. And I was like, oh, and it happened. And me and the agent looked at each other, and I was like, oh my God. He was like, oh no. Yeah. So luckily, like, I don't know how much that lamp was, but it's vintage Gucci. I'm sure it's like 20 grand. I mean, at an auction, I don't know what they go for. Crazy expensive, whatever it was. So he ended up telling the homeowner that happened, and he was very gracious, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it, not a big deal. I'm like, oh, thank you. That would have
my
broke me.
God.
Terrible, though. I felt so bad. I'm like, oh gosh.
I'm glad I didn't tell my breaking story, because it's nowhere near as cool as that one.
I had to go back to that house like 3 times to redo.
Oh
the
no,
ad.
really?
Yeah, they wanted Twilight, and then they wanted more shots of the rooms because they had taken some stuff out. Just like every time I went back to the house, I was like, this house, it's like haunted with weird spirits. There's so much weird stuff in here. Like, oh,
They're like,
I mean, it was
hey,
cool stuff,
Rachel, we
but-
love your work, but next time you come back, here's a list of the stuff that's cheaper to break.
Yes. Don't touch the blinds.
No touching the blinds.
The blinds will be up when you get there.
So, my other story I had was breaking something in someone's house too. I was just trying to get back in the corner to get this angle of the door, and I just needed a little bit further back, and I'm leaning against this door, and I hear a pop and a clink, 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 clink.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
What was that? Open the door, and it was just, I mean, it was just the door stop. They had like a metal door stop thing, but my butt basically broke it. I pushed
Oh.
too hard on the door with my butt, and it cracked and fell down.
Oh,
And
geez.
it wasn't like a modern one; it was some old one. But I'm like, I had that thought, like, do I just leave it there and say nothing? They'll probably never know my butt just broke that. But I'm like, excuse me, I'm sorry, I literally said my butt broke this, and that
Aw.
didn't go over well. The lady was like, she was not like thinking that was funny.
Aw.
I was like, yeah, broke my butt, and
Right.
I'll pay for it. And she's like, no, it's fine. But I did feel bad about that. But it was no lamp,
Yeah.
no Gucci. I don't know what Gucci
Yeah.
lamp shades cost, but I've never seen one, so I'm guessing it's expensive.
A lot. I don't know. But
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I bumped into like a wall sconce once in a kitchen. I was
Hmm.
shooting. The agent was there and the homeowner was there, and I bumped into it and it broke. And the agent's reaction was the worst part. He like said under his breath when he walked by me, he goes, "Well, that's a first." And I was like,
Oh.
ow, like I didn't do it on
Mm.
purpose. It was a total accident. I felt so bad. So I ended up
Aw.
mailing the lady a $50 gift card from Amazon to her address. 'Cause I was like,
Aw.
sorry about breaking your scones.
Yeah. Oh, my butt broke something else. I just realized.
Oh,
You made me
that
think of
butt
that.
yours.
It was totally new construction, brand spanking new and empty. They were gonna virtual everything in there. The only thing I could break was the fridge, and so everything was so brand new. I did not know. I leaned, pushed back to get a little wider. Right, I'm always trying to get as wide as I can in this kitchen, and I'm right up against the fridge. They hadn't attached the handle. It was just placed there for looks. They hadn't screwed the handle on the front of the fridge in, which had like metal. It was metal and heavy and beautiful hardwood floors. And my butt knocks it off and ding, ding,
Oh gosh.
right into the hardwood floor.
that's
And the
nice.
agent's, of course, right there going, hi, my butt breaks things.
Sorry about
What's new with you? Okay, awesome. So cool. We're going to listen to some of the stories that we have from people who reached out. So we're going to dive into that.
All right. So here's Lydge. Here we go.
Hey guys, my name is Lydge Bell. My business name is Aerial Photography Northwest, and you can find me on Instagram at Aerial Photography NW. So my horror story starts with my girlfriend and I. We live above a garage, and one night we heard people walking underneath like our room, and we have a window that's like right there, and you could hear them walking underneath, and we were like, boy, that's not right. There shouldn't be people walking right there because it's just a house in between another house. There shouldn't be people walking there regardless. So we thought that was really odd. And we kind of got like extremely freaked out because it was really loud. It sounded like they were walking very quickly towards us and something was about to happen really quickly. But nothing ended up happening. So I went downstairs to the garage, checked it all out. Went outside, checked it all out, nothing, heard nothing. So I was like, okay, we're totally fine. Walk back upstairs. Next thing I hear, growling. Growling? What in the what? And at this point, it sounds like it's in the garage. So first we hear people walking, and then we hear growling. So now I'm like, okay, we got a problem here. Something's in the garage, something's happening, something ain't right. So I go down to the garage again, check it all out. There's nothing. But I'm like terrified because I know I'm not going crazy. My girlfriend is hearing it too. Two of us are hearing growling and people talking, and we're wondering, okay, what in the actual world is going on? So I call my neighbor up, and he comes over, checks the whole place out, checks out the garage, nothing. There's nothing there. But we had heard growling, and this is late at night. We're by ourselves. We're two small people. We ain't taking on any bear or anybody, so we had no idea what was going on. Anyways, night goes on. We, my girlfriend and I, go shower. We go do our nightly stuff. We come back into the room, and sure enough, we hear it again. And at this point, I'm convinced there's a bear in the garage. We need to get out, but we can't get out because to get out, we have to go through the garage. Regardless, I kept hearing this growling. So the neighbor comes over again. I call him up, comes, checks it out, nothing. So at this point, we're like, we just heard people. We heard growling. There's a bear in the garage, but there's nothing in the garage, and there's nothing around the garage. We have fully inspected everything. So we're either like somebody's pranking us, something. But we were pretty spooked up. I mean, that was genuinely scary. We got my cat right here too. It might have been him. But what it actually ended up being was my girlfriend was connected to the Bluetooth speaker downstairs. She didn't know that she was connected. So every time that she was trying to play one of her videos, it would play the whatever she was playing. It would play growling. I think she was watching a dog video, and then the people, somebody was like walking and talking and gravel, so it sounded like that. And every time she couldn't hear it, she would turn up the speaker downstairs, which has like a subwoofer and everything, so it was like shaking the walls. I mean, it sounded so real. And yeah, like I said, it just turned out to be her connected to the Bluetooth system downstairs.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's great. That is great. That would be super scary because I
That
bet
would
it
be
sounded
terrifying.
super real. I mean, the audio probably on those videos
Well,
was
plus you feel
was
like you're losing your mind is the worst
right.
part. Like you're like in a movie because that like in movies that's the only time that happens where you go and then there's nothing. Like
Right?
and you're watching like, dude, just get out of the house, right?
Yeah.
Like you heard that,
Right.
you heard a bear, get out.
Yeah, yeah. Or stay in, hide somewhere. I don't know if you can hide from a bear.
We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house.
Ah!
He told that well. That was good.
He did.
That was
He
good.
did.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly real estate, but I guess it was because it was in his house.
I know. That's what I was trying to figure out for the whole time. I'm like, was he at his shoot
I know.
or is that his own? And I'm like, oh, it's his own house. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
It'd
guess
be
that,
better if it would be better if it was happening at somebody else's house and they didn't realize
right?
like they were out in their car
Yeah.
and their stuff was going into the house or something. That would be cool. I've had that happen with the Bluetooth before too. I kept calling. I'm like, why is this not working? And it was my wife's car was right next to me and the calls kept transferring into her car.
Oh, geez, that's so annoying.
Yeah, and I finally heard like my own voice like swearing.
Mm.
Why isn't this freaking working?
You're like, oh, I get it. I get it.
It's in her car. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Krista with Krista Cox Studio. My Instagram handle is at Krista Cox Studio. That's pretty easy. I in Central North Carolina. I work in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, all that surrounding area. I also do a lot of architecture and interiors, not just real estate, so I really go all over the state. So one time I showed up to a listing and the agent had told me that the homeowner would be gone, that she would be out doing groceries or whatever. Well, when I get there, I can't find a key. There's no lockbox. Everything is locked up. And I start like looking in and there's a dog loose. And after like 10 minutes of this dog barking at me, the homeowner walks up to the door. She was asleep in the kitchen. So she was an older lady. And you know how a lot of times older folks will kind of have their bedroom set up in a different room that's not a bedroom. She had her whole setup in the kitchen. And she was super sweet, very nice lady, but she asked me to come back 2 hours later, which I obliged because I only lived like 4 minutes away from the house. So when I come back, I expected everything to be clean and her to be leaving to go do whatever errands. No, she wants to hang out with me the whole time, which is fine. Again, she was nice, but y'all know what it's like to have homeowners who want to follow you around the house. Well, then all her bedroom stuff was still in the kitchen. And so as I'm photographing the kitchen, I had to move her bed around. I had to move all of her storage, furniture around. It was nuts. I ended up being at that house for almost 2.5 hours after having to come back 2 hours after our initial appointment. It was very frustrating.
Hey, Rachel and Neal with Shooting the Shit. I'm Ron Archer. I own Archer Media Co., and this is my horror story. So I work in the Seattle area the majority of the time, and I happen to be up in Ballard, which most of the homes in Ballard are all conglomerate. They're all next to each other. But I was shooting a really nice home in Ballard. Everything was going smoothly, and I was wrapping up doing the drone work on the outside, and I had the drone on the back side of the home, photographing it. It was 3 stories, so I had to get kind of further back. And as I'm filming it, I'm like around the corner of the house, and I see water like out in front of the lens. It was at first I didn't know what it was, but it was clearly water. And so I was like, huh, that's weird. And then I see it again, and my drone kind of glitches out and starts to like fall a bit. So I'm like, oh shit, what's happening? So I go around the corner, and the neighbor of this client's house is trying to spray my drone down with his hose. And so obviously we had a clear choice of words with each other. He should not be trying to spray someone's drone around, but he was not happy that it was flying near his house, not over his house or anything like that. I was just near it, and he just wasn't happy about that. So he decided to take initiative and try to crash my drone with a hose, which is awesome. He also threw a can at it apparently because there's a can in the yard, but thankfully that didn't hit it. The drone was soaked after the fact. Thankfully it's okay, but that was my most recent horror story. All right, guys, later.
My name is Alex Farrell. I'm a real estate photographer, and this is my horror story. So, I live down in Lewis County area, And I often go out to these country homes or houses kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And I got sent to a house out in Randall, Washington. The agent did warn me. The house has been vacant for a while. It potentially had squatters in it. It looks like a cabin on stilts. And so I go out on a beautiful sunny day. It's a beautiful area close to White Pass. And I pull up into the driveway and I see the home. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I do exteriors real quick. I do the drone real fast. And then, because I was hesitant on going inside, as I entered the home, I had a very eerie feeling. It looked like somebody moved out in a hurry, and then some squatter moved in for a good minute. And there was trash all over the floor. There was feces everywhere. There was just weird writing on the wall. I instantly had a feeling that it was something ghostly. I, with very high anxiety, shot it as fast as I could. And I literally kept turning around, thinking the Chainsaw Massacre dude was going to walk up these stairs, come in and murder me. It was disgusting. It was super spooky. I was freaked out. I wish I had some sort of sidearm on me because I did not feel very protected. And when you're out in the middle of nowhere in the country and you're walking around some property by yourself, people driving by are going to wonder, who's that and what are they doing? So, yeah, it was just a really awkward, scary moment. Probably the scariest I've ever felt, photographing a home by myself with no one there. And that's my horror story. I wish you could see the pictures. Maybe they can put it in the podcast. The end.
Hey, Rachel and Neal. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is Edward Berrios from Media Box Creatives out of Inland Empire in Southern California. The home that first comes to mind for a horror story is, it happened within the first 10 houses that I shot. Can't remember exactly which house it was, but it was with the agent and especially the home that he had me shoot. The home, I sent the agent my photographer recommendation list for prepping the home prior to the photo shoot, and then when I got there, it seemed like they disregarded the entire list. The home looked like it was from an episode of Hoarders, and the agent's communication was just bad, which I should have known because it had started off rough as far as him even wanting to pay a deposit to shoot the home, for me to come out and shoot the house. And since I was able to get it, we finally came to an agreement. He sent the deposit, and then I went and shot the house. And as I said, it was like an episode from Hoarders. I got to the house. The agent never even showed up, as he said he would. And then the homeowners were still cleaning the home or prepping the home. They asked me to go upstairs and start upstairs as they were finishing up downstairs, which it looked like it was moving day, with boxes and trash and stuff all over the place. So I'm like, okay, go upstairs, go into the master bedroom. The carpet, I believe, was supposed to be like light brown, and it looked gray. And then in the master bedroom, it looked like they just threw a sheet or a blanket over the bed. The nightstands had all types of crap on them, from like, I believe it had like lotion bottles, which was not a big issue. But then I saw like dentures on one of them. So that was that. They had piles of clothes like just tucked away in the corner. And then in the restroom, the entire counter was filled with like makeup and just hair products. Literally the entire bathroom. And then there was even like a blow dryer and stuff in the sink. And I didn't know what to do. I had texted the agent. He told him to shoot it as is. And I was like, okay. And I warned him, I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? I will come back out, no extra charge, if you don't want me to shoot it today, because it's not prep at all. He said, just shoot it. So ended up shooting the home. Again, just left, didn't clean up anything. And the pictures were bad. Being that there was so much clutter. Then, as I submitted them and I sent them to the agent, he got mad at me asking, can I just Photoshop all of the stuff out? And when I told him that I couldn't do that because it was just too much everywhere, he got upset and then began saying that he wasn't going to pay me the rest of the money for the shoot, as he was still going to try and use the pictures that I had given, or that he was going to, I don't know if he was going to use him or if he was going to hire somebody else, but he was just threatening not to pay me. And it was a big old hassle going back and forth with him. And I was working with 2 other agents in that same office, and he started talking bad about me to those agents. Luckily, I had a good rapport with those 2 other agents that I had shot with before, which they disregarded everything he said. And yeah, it almost seemed like he was trying to ruin my reputation within the agents in that office, and especially with the ones that I was working with. But it was just a nightmare to deal with him, and just especially that house was disgusting. I never ran home so fast and jumped in the shower as I felt that bugs and stuff were gonna be all over me. But that's the first one that comes to mind. Hope this helps. Y'all have a good one. And my Instagram handle is media_box_creatives with an S. Thank you guys. Can't wait for this episode. Bye.
Hi, Rachel and Neal, and greetings from the Netherlands. My horror story is about a shoot with a first-time seller. Now, I'm sure we've all had our fair share of these types of sellers in our careers. They tend to be nervous and want everything to be perfect, so they follow you around during the shoot. Well, this particular client was no different and would frequently stop me in between shots to make the tiniest of adjustments. Towards the end of the appointment, one of the last shots we needed to get was of the living room. I had everything ready to go. The tripod was leveled, the camera settings were dialed in, the composition was set, and the only thing left to do was to push the shutter button. And right on cue, the client wanted to make a change and move a kitty litter box out of the way, which wasn't even in the shot to begin with. They picked it up and started bringing it upstairs. Once they were about halfway up, the bottom dropped out and the contents spilled out all over the staircase and across the living room floor. This thing was full. The worst part was that the floor was hardwood, so everything just glided unimpeded across the floor for maximum spread and distance. The seller, real estate agent, and myself just stood there in a state of shock for a couple of beats, and the only thing I could do is fire off an exposure to help ease the tension because, shit happens.
Thank you guys so much for sending in your stories. It was really fun to listen to. I know we all have so many horror stories, especially in this crazy job that we do. So it's really fun to hear all the different stories. So we'll probably do this episode again and reach out. I think it would be fun to do it again. So if you want to be a part of our next Horror Stories episode, please reach out on Instagram and shoot us a message and we'll get you on the list. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And share your handle and your name and the name of your company so that we can give you credit.
Yes. And then if you want to follow any of these people that shared their stories today, we will add their Instagram handles in the description so you can easily follow these amazing photographers. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.